So I thought I would quickly share all of the quilt tops that I finished in my 2 week challenge over the last 2 weeks, except for one that was my mom's and she took it home with her. I might see if I can get a picture from her. And then I'm going to also share all the quilt tops that I already had quilted. They're in that pile behind you, or behind me, I guess. So this is the first one. It was a baby sparked quilt, my own pattern, and it is a combination of FPP and traditional piecing. This was my squirrel pattern. I actually really love this pattern. It's so whimsical to me. And it comes with that acorn pattern as well. That is a traditionally pieced acorn. And you can use it to scatter it throughout the background of the squirrel quilt, or you can just make a acorn if you want. This is my second squirrel quilt, and I'm going to try to show the close-up of the quilting because I did bows. That was a lot of fun. I also love the back of this one. It's like treehouse, really cute fabric, and I cannot quite remember the name of who designed that fabric, but it's older, maybe not available anymore. This is a pattern by Pen and Paper Patterns. It's a Firefly quilt, that's the name of it. And I do think you can also take the kind of yellow glowy part off and make it bees, which is really fun. I'm also sharing these quilts with you in the order that I actually quilted them because that's just how my brain works. So this next one is a Starfy quilt. This pattern, I'm showing you the back there. It's Heather Ross strawberries. I bought some wide back and I used it for a different quilt and then had some left over that I added to do for this quilt. Starfy, I'm showing you the middle here as I get closer so you can see the fish swimming through. And that is one of the border options for Starfy. There's 3 border options. That pattern released last summer. There's also a mini quilt version of it, so be careful if you go buy it, which one you're buying. This is my Do You Want to Sew a Snowman pattern. One of my favorite quilts. It is a lot of piecing, I will be honest, but it's all traditionally pieced. I did loopy and then snowflakes here and there. Like every snowflake is different. I mean, it would be anyway, but they're like custom designed snowflakes, for lack of a better term. This is my Star Petals quilt. Oh my gosh, I love this quilt so much. It is so full of fun, bright, happy, vintagey looking fabrics. This is a mini quilt pattern, which means for me, it's a 1 block pattern. So it's less expensive, but I don't give you like full quilt yardages or anything like that. I think it's some of those I do, but I can't quite remember. And I wanted to show you a close up there of the custom quilting because I did every block the same, but every block is individually quilted basically. And I did a lot of ruler work on that quilt too, which was new for me. This is my Starbeam quilt. This is a really fun, quick quilt to make. Oddly enough, because you use strip piecing. Man, my arms were tired at this point because this was the second round of holding quilts up because I did a different format for my video for Instagram. But the Starbeam is a lot of fun to make. This is my new Star Beginner quilt pattern. The pattern is written to teach people how to quilt. And you do have to buy the pattern, but there is a free course based on my blog, woollypetals.com, and here on YouTube. So it gives 8 weeks worth of videos, usually 1 to 3 videos per week to explain you step by step how to make a quilt. This is a scrappy trip around the world quilt, and I made it so that the blue squares give an Irish chain effect. My friends and I all made a scrappy trip at our last retreat. It was a lot of fun. If you've never made the same quilt pattern as other friends, whether home or on a retreat, I recommend it. This is my Curves quilt. I made this like years and years ago, 2017, 18. And Jen Carleton Bailey has the Make It Curvy templates, and she kind of debuted them. There's my hand quilting, and the back is fun. She debuted her templates at Sewtopia and helped me kind of sketch out this quilt, and I am so happy that it's finally done. It's a big one too. I have to measure it. I can't remember the exact size. This is the last Starfy quilt from my quilt top challenge, and this is just the simple patchwork background with no border, basically. This is my favorite version of my Starfy, and I did some fun quilting on this one as well. So here's where I'm going to switch to all of the quilt tops that I had quilted prior to my quilt top challenge, which was a lot. I am excited to get them bound. This is a baby version of Lucky, which is a free pattern. If you sign up for my newsletter, it gets emailed to you, or the link to download it gets emailed to you. And that one's a great one because you can use my To the Stars FPP pattern to go with it. Those are leftover blocks. This is Penguin Social. I love this quilt, and I'm doing a sew along coming up soon this spring. I did a checkerboard background on that one, which was kind of a pain because some of the penguins are sewn per block, and some of them you had to do like reverse the checkerboard so they would all nest properly. This is Enchanted Forest. It has the same snowman as my Do You Want to Sew a Snowman. It also has a companion embroidery pattern that my friend Molly made, and you can mix and match that pattern to have whatever trees you want. This never became a pattern. I was calling it Stomping on Flowers because this was designed to look like flowers. But then I made a second one because I thought it kind of looked like dinosaur footprints. So Stomping on Flowers. But it has never become a pattern, and it maybe won't. But it's cute. Now I have 2 quilts of it that I can gift or sell or whatever. We'll see. You never know. This is another Starfy. This has the hourglass border option and is the third and final border option for Starfy. Not my favorite because you kind of lose the points of the big star, but still a fun one and is a very quick make, just like Wash Your Paws. This is another sparked baby quilt. It's a fun quilt to make for babies. And here I appliqued a heart and a flower on some of the blocks. It's also hand quilted. I don't know. Sometimes baby quilts are just fun to play with different things like hand quilting or applique or stuff just because they're small and easy to do. This was Hearts Around the World, my first rendition, and I gave it away free to all subscribers to my newsletter several years ago, and then I updated it. In my opinion, I made it a lot better, and it is for sale in my shop now, but that's a fun, bright version of it. This is another Enchanted Forest, as you can see, not a Christmas version, so you can make that quilt for just tree lovers, and you can see a little bit close up here of some of the embroidery. This was a really fun quilt to make, and you guys picked all the colors and size and theme for that one over on my Instagram and my stories before I made it. This has never become a pattern either. I had big intentions, but sometimes quilt patterns that are just HSTs, and I believe this one has a couple hourglass blocks in it too, don't always make it into pattern mode. I do actually really love it though. It was so much work making so many HSTs, and that was before I had my make as many HSTs as a time method that I use now. I thought here at the end I would share some quilts that I have been hand quilting for a while. They just kind of hang out here until I have time for them, and this one has been here for years. This might be my oldest whip. I think I made this in like 2015 or 16. I don't even remember. But it's maybe about a third quilted. And it's super big and heavy. We'll see if I finish it someday. I would love to be honest, but priorities, right? This is the plaid summer picnic blanket. That's probably not the right name. Ruby Star Society did a sew along for it. It's a free pattern when you do the sew along. It's basically buffalo plaid, and I'm hand quilting each of the squares individually. Call me crazy. Some people do. This is my New Star Beginner Quilt pattern. I actually remade the cover quilt because I gifted the cover quilt, and now I'm hand quilting this one in just, I think, diagonal stripes. So that is my favorite type of quilting, when I just do stripes across, or just like horizontal, vertical striped, just single rows instead of doing all fancy things. This is the expansion pack to my Something Wicked quilt, and it's basted but has not been started quilting yet. So that is everything. Okay, so that's all of my quilts that I have quilted, and to be honest, that is everything. If you've been watching on Instagram or been watching on YouTube here a little bit, I am caught up with all my quilting. So whenever I make a quilt now, if I quilt it right away, I'll be caught up. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. So all of my quilts are in a pile here. I just counted them and I already forgot how many it was. I'm going to have to put the number down here. I feel like it was 33, but now that I'm saying it out loud, that seems insane, right? 33 quilts. Plus I have the 4 that still need to be hand bound or hand quilted. I did actually trim all of the quilt tops yesterday, and they're all folded very nicely now. So I have a lot of binding to make, which it's going to be kind of fun to try out some different binding techniques because I usually just stick with one method. But I think that this has been a really great example with my quilting challenge of trying different and new things, and maybe I'll find something that I like better. I love hand binding. No, not everybody does. So that is the goal for all of these, which I have one quilt in my hand binding basket left that's maybe like, it's over 2/3 done. So I was like really close to not having anything to hand bind. So this will be awesome. I'll probably be hand binding a lot. I just love that methodical process of sitting and stitching. So that's exciting for me. I know not everybody likes that, and it's great because when I go someplace where I'm just sitting and chatting, whether it be like to a friend's house, when we have friends over, to like some sort of kids event, or like makers meetup, sewing things, like that's my go-to because it's mindless. I don't have to think about it, and I can listen to conversation very easily. So I hope you liked seeing all the quilts that I have quilted. It is a little bit crazy. Like I know some people have whips, like only have a couple whips in progress, or don't even make that many quilts in like multiple years. And trust me, that is definitely over a multiple years worth of quilt tops, even though I do tend to make a lot of quilts in 1 year because I design patterns and I have to often make 2 to 4 versions per pattern. So that happens. I often get the top done and then don't get it quilted. So my goal moving forward is to quilt the tops as I finish them and not get a backlog like this, which a lot of these happened prior to having a long arm. And then when I had a long arm and had all these quilt tops, well, I have been better at keeping up. I've been trying to quilt old quilt tops, so it just backlogged newer ones as well, which is a bummer. But I'm trying to take things a little bit slower with the process of designing, releasing patterns, quilting quilts, because it just becomes too much. So hopefully that will help with quilts getting done and out the door. I imagine some of these will be for sale in the future. Probably on Instagram. If you don't follow me over there, find me Woolly Petals. Don't forget it's 2 L's in Woolly. And that's where I have most of my stuff going on, just because it's a little bit more community, can interact with people. I find slightly better than YouTube. Maybe I should figure out how to turn on my notifications when I get comments here, though. Thank you all so much for being here on YouTube. If you don't already, you can like and subscribe here as well, because that's awesome for me and helps other people find me. So I'll be back. I have a couple new chat and craft episodes / tutorials coming up, and I'm always coming up with new ideas. So I'll be around the interweb and hope to see you somewhere.